everyone, it's Michelle. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to a quick little impromptu video on my latest project. If you're new around here, I'm a vintage loving, treasure hunting, mixed media journal maker, and I love to find treasures off the beaten path. Now, I tend to make a lot of my projects using a combination of found or authentic papers combined with digital kits. And I was fortunate enough to work with two kits in the last week. Both are from Tracy Fox Creative, and the first one is the Compendium and the other one is the Faux Slides. And I will put links to those digital kits below. So if you want to mimic this project, you'll have the same materials. But what I really want to talk about is the concept of a zine. And I have seen this word in the mixed media journal making community for years now. And I know most of the time, the way that I've always interpreted them, I've thought of them as like little magazines, you know. That's why they're called zines, Z-I-N-E, because they're little magazines. And a lot of people make these very fun, bright, colorful zines. And the benefit of that is they're one piece of folded paper that when you lay it flat, you could then scan and then print out and make many, many copies of it. And I just figured I haven't really ever done one before. Let me see what it's all about. I needed a quick and easy project, and so I did that with this little zine. So basically what you're looking at is my materials that I used was one sheet of ledger paper. It was authentic railroad ledger paper from 1857. It was quite large. It was probably the size of this board, so it was on the longer side, and the bigger the piece of paper, the bigger the zine is going to be. And just by folding it and cutting it, you can make a no-sew book that has 8 pages in it. And then you can do whatever you want to that base. So what I chose to do were the authentic papers that I used was one piece of ledger, some vintage stamps, like some vintage postage stamps. I used little bits and bobs that I had laying around. I will go in to tell you exactly the pieces that are not, part of the kit and what is authentic. And then I used these digital kits, and this is what I came up with. First of all, I absolutely love the process of making a zine, and I love it so much. I'm going to make a video of my next zine. I'm going to start that this afternoon, I think. And I'll make it a very, very different style. And I think I don't know what I'm going to use. I'll figure that out later. But basically, this cute little booklet was all made from one piece of folded paper. I chose to sew it, but I didn't have to. So before I go into the whole thing, let me start by doing a flip through. And then the second part of the video, I will go through the pieces so that you can see what I made. So if you're interested in that, you can do so. Let me say that I had no plan before I made this project. I just simply took the digitals and the pieces of papers that I had around, and I made this project. And then after it was done, it seemed to me like I was telling a story of a journey. That's what this little zine spoke to me, but there were no words. And a zine, because I think of it like a little magazine, I felt like there needed to be words. So in the last year, I have been going on my own personal journey. I won't go into it, but there's some very difficult things going on in my life that will not change. And I have a choice. And my choice is to either, fall down that hole of self-pity or trying to fix it or change it or control it, or I can work on myself and find the skills to navigate some pretty rocky waters. So I've been doing a lot of work on myself. I've been participating a lot in different kinds of therapies, and I have discovered this person named James Campbell, who does a lot of writing and has written books on basically our own journeys in life. And his quotes are very, very therapeutic and healing to me. So I decided to fill this little travel booklet with James Campbell quotes. So with that, let me give you a little peek into my little traveler's book. I'm just going to open it up here. And right here I have this little quote here that says, "The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are." And I have it's just the most beautiful images that Tracy has provided. And behind this slide, I have the quote, "Find a place inside where there's joy, and the joy will burn out the pain." And I really love that quote. Inside here, I have a pocket, and I've just started putting some of James Campbell's quotes inside. I'm going to continue to add them to this page as I get them. The three that I have are, "You become mature when you become the authority of your own life. If you can see your path laid out in front of you, step by step, you know it is not your path. Your own path you make with every step you take. That's why it's your path. The big question is whether you are going to be able to say a hearty yes to your adventure." And this, to me, this quote here really encapsulated what I thought the zine ended up looking like, with a collection of railroad papers. And I'm going to read you this too. "Follow your bliss. If you do follow your bliss, you put yourself on a kind of track that has been there all the while waiting for you. And the life you ought to be living is the one you are living. When you can see that, you begin to meet people who are in the field of your bliss, and they open the doors to you. I say, follow your bliss and don't be afraid, and doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be. If you follow your bliss, doors will open for you that wouldn't have been opened for anyone else." And I absolutely love that concept, and I believe it is true. And then behind here, I have this tag, and the quote on here is, "We must be willing to let go of the life we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us." He has a lot of similar concepts. On this page, you can see a tuck here and a card that comes out. And it says, "You must have a room or a certain hour or so a day where you don't know what was in the newspapers that morning. You don't know who your friends are. You don't know what you owe anybody. You don't know what anybody owes to you. This is a place where you can simply experience and bring forth what you are and what you might be. This is the place of creative incubation. At first you may find that nothing happens there. But if you have a sacred place and use it, something eventually will happen." And this is from his book, The Power of Myth. And I think that speaks to a lot of us as artists, having a sacred space and a sacred practice. And then behind this little slide, "You are the hero of your own story." How empowering is that? And finally, this very dashing man on the back says, "If you can see your path laid out in front of you step by step, you know it's not your path. Your own path you make with every step you take. That's why it's your path." And that's a repeat, an excerpt of one of the longer writings that I had. I think that it's something I want to always remind myself of, that I'm taking my own path. And that, to me, is a little zine. There is a theme to it. The images are themed. The railroad theme and the time period and the travel feels like a theme. But then filling it with quotes from someone who right now is providing so much wisdom and inspiration to my life, it starts becoming a story, my story, in the sense that I can fill it with quotes that as I read his books and hear more about his teachings, I can fill it with things that resonate with me. And then it becomes a little collection of James Campbell's wisdom. And so for that reason, I'm going to call this little zine Journey. It symbolizes my journey, but it was also just a really beautiful, delightful thing to create. So if you're still interested, let me tell you what I used and how I created it. So this is just a piece of like sari that, I used as a closure. And because when you fold the zine, you get these like pockets and things are not together, I was able to put the textile through and then just staple it and glue the paper down. It was just super easy. Making the foundation of a zine takes like 5 minutes. And that's the beautiful thing, because then you can just start decorating it immediately. So on the cover, my railroad ledger already had some beautiful patina and things that I could add to it, but these 3 slides are from Tracy's Faux Slides kit, and I was going to do a transparency here, but I had a bit of a disaster, which if you follow me on Tracy's community page, you'll know what happened there. So my way of dealing with that was I cut out half of this panel. And then I just made a little like tag with one of her images, put a little washi tape on it, and just covered the back with some of the extra ledger paper that I had. And by cutting it on a diagonal, she peeks out and there's this layering, but it's not just a flat image, and I love that. I also used, I forgot to say, she has a new paperclip slip kit that has little embellishments on it, and this butterfly, I believe, is either from that or the slides. I forget. I got those 3 kits that I used. Behind, this is one of her little embellishments back here that I put in. And then this is just a vintage postage stamp, and this is a vintage postage stamp. And then I took my sewing machine and I just did some sewing here and there where I felt it was, would add. And I just put a vintage eyelet there. And I had some charms in my little doodad box, a couple keys and this little gem. And I thought it looked cute as something that could hang off the side. Inside, this is part of the faux kit of hers. I simply just printed it off and put a little bit of ink on it and glued it on, as simple as that. This is a little compendium piece. All of this in the background is the background of the ledger paper. You can see the 1857 on there. It just goes so beautifully with her kit. And this is what I love to do, is combine old with new. I love taking the beautiful old paper and mixing it with these gorgeous digitals. And her compendium kit has a lot of labels in it. So what I did is I trimmed areas of the compendium kit and backed it with cardboard so it would be a pocket. And this is a label. Tracy has amazing label kits. And this is just a vintage postage stamp I had. And this is from her compendium kit. I feel like when you start a project, if you can limit your palette or limit your supplies, it allows you to be so much more creative, because you have, first of all, her compendium kit has just so many pieces of ephemera like built into the background pages that you can trim and cut. You don't need much more than that. And then she adds lots of little pieces in her digitals. And then, just having this beautiful background, it was just really easy. And what I did was I just printed off a lot of James Campbell's quotes on a, just put them in my printer and printed them on like a tan background and then cut them out and ink them. So I just really love how that looks. I love all the little details, and it was just so easy. Here, I didn't glue the page together. I left it a pocket so that I could put in those two pieces that you saw. And I absolutely loved this part of the ledger, and I didn't want to cover that up. So I decided just to take more of her compendium kit and trim out part of a label, add one of her labels and add a stamp. And then this is a person that's included in her slide kit. So I just stuck that in there. I love this gentleman so much. And he reminded me of like a conductor or like a dashing gentleman on a train. And this is also from her compendium kit. So I just trimmed that piece to make a pocket. I sewed on this little pocket watch charm. And then I had a ticket, a railroad ticket that I just scanned and put in there. And I also had this railway ticket as well that I scanned and printed off. I added a bead and some twine and a gear, and then just added the quote to it. So this is actually a piece from myself. This and this don't belong to a digital, but that might be the only other pieces other than the ledger. And then, of course, this is from Tracy's kit. And then, like I said, her compendium has so many different beautiful textures in it that it was just easy to collage using it. Really, really easy and made for easy work, but really fun work. On this page, I fussy cut a girl out of her compendium kit. This is from the compendium. This is compendium. And I believe this is too. And then I just backed that with the paper from the printer and a little bit more detail. And this is her faux slide kit. It was just so versatile to work with. The only thing I added here that was not part of the kits was the stamp. And then I made one of the little slips, the paper clip slips, which I didn't do a bang-up job the first time, so I have to watch her video and go through that. And then on the back side, I just added a little piece of her compendium kit to the original ledger. And then I used some linen, this is Tim Holtz linen tape. I like the fact that it's cloth and it gives a little bit of integrity. And I just used another one of her slides and glued a cog to it. So it was pretty amazing because I really took my time with this. I think I made the structure of the book in the cover in a couple of hours. I really took my time. The actual folding and cutting took just a few minutes. And then every day I just decided I would spend some time doing a page, and it might have only taken me a half an hour or 45 minutes to do a page, but it was so pleasurable to sit down and do it every day. And then once it was done, I thought it really needs words, and I had to think on that for a couple days. And then it came to me. I was listening to a podcast and they were quoting James Campbell, who I love, and I thought, you know what, there's so many quotes that I love of his that I'm just going to make this about that. And that's my little project. That's my little zine made from some digital kits and one piece of paper and some doodads. I hope you liked it, and I'm going to make another zine. I'll do a tutorial on the zine because it's so incredibly easy. And Tracy, thank you so much for your generosity in creating such beautiful artwork for us as a community and sharing your talents with us. You're such a gem, and it was a pleasure to work with your digitals. Until next time, guys. Bye.